Rainbow Weaver by Linda Elovitz Marshall and Elisa Chavarri. High in the mountains, Ishel watched her mother weave thread into fabric as beautiful as a rainbow. Blues as clear as the sky, reds as bright as the flowers, and yellows as golden as the corn. "May I weave too?" she asked. Her mother shook her head. "This cloth is for the market. If it brings a good price, it will help pay for your school and books." In and out, in and out. The women wove as their mothers, grandmothers, and great-grandmothers had done before them, as Mayan women had done for more than 2,000 years. After a while, Ishel asked, "Mama, may I weave now?" Again, her mother shook her head. Ishel crossed her arms and studied the hard-packed dirt of the yard. "I want to weave. I want to help pay for my books and school too," she thought. But she didn't say anything. Instead, she walked in the field where the villagers had planted corn, beans, and squash. Plastic bags littered the path. Day after day, more bags were tossed from windows of passing vehicles or discarded by people returning from market. No one could use all the bags, but there was nowhere to put them. Pushing bags aside, Ishel gathered branches and sticks. She carried the sticks and branches home and tied them together to make a loom. Her mother smiled. "But Ishel, we don't have any extra thread." "I know, Mama," she answered. "I won't take any." Ishel tied one of her loom to a tree, and she gathered the tall blades of the grass. Ishel joined the blades of grass together by knotting the end of one blade to the end of another until she made a long chain. The fabric was far too small, far too scratchy, and far too dull for anyone to buy. Disappointed, Ishel took another walk, climbing the path villagers took to bring sheep up to the mountain, and she saw a clump of black wool hanging from a branch. Ishel tucked the wool under her belt. She noticed more clumps of black and white and gathered this wool too. At home, Ishel twisted and turned the wool, spinning it into a long, thick strand of yarn. Then over and under, back and forth, she pushed the batten and wove the yarn into fabric. Ishel looked at what she had woven. It was thick and heavy. The colors were boring. Tiny pieces of grass and dirt were stuck in the fabric. The weaving was far too thick, too boring, and too dirty. Tears rolled down Ishel's cheeks. "There's no way my weaving will sell in the market. There's no way I can help." Wiping her tears, Ishel headed toward town again. Along the way, she kicked aside plastic bags. Red, purple, orange, green, and yellow bags were everywhere. They were in the fields. With so many bags, it was hard for her to walk. Angry, Ishel picked up a bag, ripped it to shreds. But suddenly, she had an idea. Ishel gathered bag after colorful bag. She took the bags home, washed them, and hung them to dry. "Now what are you doing?" another neighbor asked. "You'll see," she answered. By the next day, the bags were dry. Ishel cut each bag into long, thin strips and tied them together. Sitting at her loom, she pushed the fabric over and under, until she had used all the strips. The fabric was short, but it was clean and colorful. It had blues as clear as the sky, reds as bright as flowers, and yellows as golden as the corn. The fabric looked like a beautiful rainbow, almost as pretty as the weavings of her mother, grandmother, and great-grandmothers before her. Wondering what else she could make with the plastic bags, Ishel headed back to the milpa. She gathered more bags, and the path looked cleaner and the countryside prettier. When Ishel returned home, her mother and neighbors were waiting with colorful plastic bags. "We saw what you were doing, and we want to help." Ishel thanked them. She handed the weaving to her mother and said, "My first rainbow." "It's beautiful, my love," her mother said. "But do you think it will sell?" "Let's take it to the market and see," said her mother. At the market the next day, Ishel and her mother watched as people walked by the stalls. Finally, a woman stopped. "Did you make this?" she asked. Ishel nodded, and the woman smiled. Her weaving sold for a very good price. Ishel beamed with happiness. Now she could help pay for her books in school, and like her mother, grandmothers, and great-grandmothers before her, Ishel had woven a rainbow.